Where you buy properties and when you buy properties are one of the largest factors in you getting the right property that meets your goals. On January 17th, we're going through all of the new advantages that come with this 2026 market, but I wanted to share something with you really quickly in this video. In my hands, I just got our two latest reports from the Keyspire Research Team, and I wanted to give you a little bit of what we've learned about this 2026 market. All right, one report has to do with the top 10 markets in Canada to buy investment property. The top 10 markets based on the balance of cash flow and appreciation. So we're going to be going over these top 10 markets on January 17th, and we're actually going to give you this report as a free bonus, something that we just decided yesterday to give this report as a free bonus. So we're going to talk about the top 10 markets and give you the report as a free bonus when you come to the event on January 17th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The second report I got from our research team was the time of the year when it's going to be best to buy in 2026. And they've singled out a couple months where you're going to have the best opportunity for a great deal when you're putting in your offer. And I want to share that with you right now because it's really interesting what we've come up with. We're going to talk a little bit more about this on the 17th, but I want to give you something that you can use right now and you can use to prepare for the new real estate advantage on January 17th. So what we've come up with in terms of the best markets, the best months to invest in 2026. And one month really stood out. There's about 4 great months, and one month really stood out. But first, I want to start high level by saying, well, what do we consider when we think about what time of the year to invest in real estate? And when I talk about timing, I'm talking about time in the year, not time overall. Because when you look at real estate over a 5, especially over a 10-year period, you're going to see ups and downs with the market cycle, and you're going to have like a yo-yo and an escalator, right? Up and down, all the way up. We have the book, How to Profit at Any Stage of the Market Cycle, where you're going to learn about the different market cycles. But specifically here, I want to teach you about the different months and the factors involved of what time of the year you would buy. So there's 3 main factors that our research team has considered when coming up with this. Number 1 is the buyer behavior. What is the behavior that buyers have when they're thinking about buying property? Because these are the people that are competing with you out there. These are the comparable offers that sellers are getting. So number 1, I want to talk about buyer behavior. We got to consider that. Number 2, we're going to consider seller psychology. So what is the psychology of each seller at every month of the market or every month of the year? What is the seller thinking? How are they going to act or react based on their psychology? And the third is just the market pricing mechanics. How does the market naturally price real estate every month of the year based on decades and decades of data? And so let's combine buyer behavior with seller psychology with market pricing mechanics to start to unpack and evaluate and say which month or months are we going to have the best possible chance of getting a deal that drives our goals, or as we might say on the street, getting a great deal on real estate. So the month that popped up, there was about 3 or 4 months, but the month that popped up overwhelmingly in 2026 was February 2026. February 2026 is going to have this beautiful combination of buyer behavior, seller psychology, and pricing mechanics. And so let me unpack these 3 a little bit for you so you can understand what's happening. First of all, we have buyer behavior. February 2026 is going to be an amazing time to put in an offer because of buyer behavior. And by the way, we're going to get you set up on January 17th. And one of the reasons that we do our event in January is to get you set up for February and even March and April to really get you into this transaction season so that you can start getting some great deals. So we're doing our event in January. When you come on January 17th, you are going to be set up with the tools and the next steps in order to take action immediately and in February. And so that's why February, it's a perfect time for us to make this happen. Okay, so with buyer behavior, what we're going to see out there in February is less competition. There are less people buying properties, less people putting offers in. All right, you got your 2 main groups. You got your homeowners and your investors. Let's start with homeowners. Homeowners, if you're a young family, you just really don't want to move mid-school year. If you're going to a different school zone, you don't want to move unless you absolutely have to. So you're generally going to wait until the school year is over. Also, you don't want to move when it's snowy and crappy out. You know, we're in Canada here, and everywhere we go in February is just covered in snow. Pretty much everywhere we go is covered in snow in February. So that tends to skew people to not going out and looking at property and wanting to move and getting the moving truck and all of that in February. They're going to wait for the nicer months, April, May, June, and so on. So the homeowners, they're not looking to buy as much as they are in other months of the year. So in February, you're getting the least amount of offers submitted to the sellers. That's good. On the investor side, investors are just paused right now in the marketplace as a whole. If you're an investor, you might be a little bit paralyzed by fear. You might be a little bit stopped or paused in moving your business forward. We've seen that with a lot of investors that we've talked to. Now, we want to provide the tools and the analysis so that the investors that are part of Keyspire, you don't have that paralysis by analysis because you got the clear steps. But when you look out in the marketplace, millions and millions of investors, they're paused right now. They're not putting in offers in February like they are in other months. Also, the investors are also kind of, we all succumb to this big freeze in Canada where it's cold out and we don't want to go out and put in offers and do things. So you've got February as one of those months where the buyer behavior tells us that there's going to be less offers put in for all the properties that are listed for sale. What that means for you as an investor is you have less competition. Less competition. The seller is going to be comparing your offer to less offers. And that always means a good thing when you're going out there to get a great deal on property. When you're looking to negotiate great terms, could be anywhere from seller financing to better down payment terms to better move-in terms. All of the terms are just as important as the price. And in February, buyers are going to have an amazing set of options out there to buy property. So that's number one. February, buyer behavior, you're going to have less competition. Number two is the seller psychology. Seller psychology in February is suggesting to us that you're going to have some of the best negotiations all year in February. So why? What's happening to sellers in February? Well, number one is a lot of sellers have had their places up for sale for a few months now, November, December, January, into February. And the psychology of sellers is just like, all right, we got to get this thing sold. We are getting beaten down 120, 150, 180 days on market. And now we are ready to sell. There's an emotional toll of selling for some sellers out there. And so if it's been on the market for a while, the individual sellers will have a psychology that will make them more likely to sell. So we've got seller psychology looking to sell properties in February. That means that you're going to get better negotiations and your offer is going to float to the top a little bit more. Remember, we have less competition, and the seller psychology is going to allow us to have our offer be seen and considered. The other thing about selling in February is, and especially in this market right now, where in most places in Canada, property prices have plateaued, they've dipped a little bit, transactions have definitely gone down. That means how many pieces of real estate are traded every single month. So as we have values softening, we have transactions softening, what happens to sellers is they only sell when they have to. So any seller who doesn't have to sell, who's just testing the market, is generally taken out of the pool of sellers in this type of economy. So when you see something for sale, it's much more likely that that seller, they have to sell. And when the seller has to sell for all the other things that happen in our life, there's things that happen in our life other than making money that make us have to sell property. Or they're just tired. They're just ready to get out of the game. They're ready to move on to do something else. Maybe there's a small business idea. Maybe their kids are going to college and they need to sell to raise the funds. Whatever the reason, the properties that are up for sale, those sellers, they have to sell. So the seller psychology is a lot more motivated. So what you see in February 2026 in particular, there'll be a few more months in the year. We'll make sure that we get you those months when they come out. But in February 2026, we want you to be prepared because you're going to see so many motivated sellers, more motivated sellers than maybe the last decade you're going to see start to come out in February 2026. All right, so that's number two. Number one is buyer behavior. You're going to have less competition. Number two is seller psychology. You're going to have better negotiations with the properties that are actually for sale. And number three is the general market pricing mechanics. around the end of January into February and the beginning of March, the market is always priced at the lowest year over year over year. So you're getting this seasonal low in terms of what real estate is trading for. A lot of it has to do with what I talked about in point 1 and point 2, all coming together into pricing mechanics. But it goes deeper than that into a historical track record that is proven time and time again for the last 30 or 40 or 50 years. Overwhelmingly, when you get into January, February, March, you see real estate trade at the lowest amounts of the year, called seasonal lows. So you've got this pricing mechanic built in to February, along with the buyer lack of competition and the seller psychology, which means that when you put your offer in February, you have the greatest chance all year in 2026 to get that great deal that you're looking for. Now, what does that mean? That means on January 17th, we're going to make sure that you are set up for making offers in February. We're going to go through the new real estate advantage. Scott is going to give you the big picture with the Keyspire 10-year plan, and he's going to get into some market cycles, market economics, and he's going to show you the 4 ways to win so you know how to evaluate properties immediately. Starting on Saturday, you're going to know how to evaluate properties. And then we're going to have Wendy up talking about how you can be in control of the value of the property, not the market. Wouldn't that be a great thing? Not worry about if the market's going up or down. Either way, you know how to be in control of how much money your property makes. Wendy's going to show you how she's done that for almost a decade now here as a Keyspire member. And then we're going to have Deanna come up, and she's going to show you how to live the life you love. She's going to show you how to balance your life and your lifestyle with your real estate investing. If you're watching this, you could be a busy professional, you could be a young couple, an older couple, you could have kids, but either way, you're freaking busy. We all are. So connecting and trying to balance your real estate investing with the rest of your life becomes really tricky. So Deanna's going to show you how to do that. And then I'm going to wrap it all together, and I'm going to teach right from our book, How to Profit in Any Market Stage. I'm going to show you the 4 stages of the market cycle, and I'm even going to give you the free book so you have it. It's going to be absolutely amazing on January 17th. If you're here, you've registered. If you're seeing this and you haven't registered, make sure that you register. There's going to be a link here somewhere to make sure you get in. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Our goal is to get you set up for that February buying season. We got these market economics that just can't be beat. We've got the buyer behavior, the seller psychology, and the market pricing mechanics that are on your side. For once, something is on our side as real estate investors. So please do not lose this advantage. Let's make sure that we get you set up and ready to go. I will see you on January 17th. I will be right here hosting the event for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be there. Let's have a great time. Come prepared. Come ready to go. And we are going to leave that event with a clear action plan for you. All right, until the next video, have a great day or two, and I'll see you next time.